Your doctor lied to you. Not on purpose, but every time they told you that strokes just happen or that it's genetic or part of aging, they were dead wrong. The truth? Over 90% of strokes are completely preventable, and the secret isn't in expensive medications or complicated procedures. It's sitting right there in your kitchen cabinet, but not in the way you think. Here's what's going to blow your mind: that heart-healthy whole grain bread you've been eating religiously. It's packing more stroke-triggering sodium than a bag of potato chips. That daily multivitamin you take thinking you're covering all your bases, it contains the wrong form of B12 that your aging body can't even absorb, leaving you functionally deficient while your blood work looks normal. And that low-fat diet your cardiologist recommended? It's actually starving your brain of the nutrients it needs to prevent the blood vessel damage that leads to stroke. I know this sounds impossible because everything I just told you goes against what every medical professional has been telling you for decades. But here's the kicker: while you've been following their safe advice, stroke rates among women over 60 have been climbing year after year. Meanwhile, there are women in their 80s and 90s who are sharp as tacks, living independently, and haven't had so much as a mini stroke, all because they accidentally stumbled onto the nutritional secrets I'm about to share with you. The food industry has spent billions of dollars making sure you never discover these truths because they make a fortune keeping you sick and dependent on their processed foods. But what if I told you that you could slash your stroke risk by up to 80% just by making 5 simple changes changes that have nothing to do with giving up the foods you love or spending more money at the grocery store? You know what's fascinating? Most people think strokes just happen out of nowhere, like tornado warnings in Kansas. But here's the truth that'll blow your mind: what you put on your plate every single day is literally rewiring your brain's future. Dr. J. David Spence, one of the world's leading stroke researchers, has spent decades proving that aging with health isn't just about luck. It's about the smart choices you make in your kitchen. His groundbreaking studies, including nutrition and risk of stroke, reveal that the right diet can slash your stroke risk by up to 80%. That's not a typo, 80%. Think about it. Would you rather roll the dice with your health or take control with something as simple as changing what's on your dinner plate? Here's where it gets really interesting, and this is something most doctors won't tell you. The research in nutrition and stroke prevention shows that certain foods act like tiny bodyguards for your blood vessels, while others are like silent assassins. When you're thinking about maintaining health in your golden years, you're not just preventing one stroke, you're building a fortress around your entire cardiovascular system. Picture this: every time you choose an apple over a Hostess cupcake, you're literally sending repair crews to your arteries. Every time you opt for olive oil instead of margarine, you're hiring the best security team money can buy for your brain. It's like having a personal maintenance crew working 24/7 to keep your immune system in old age running like a well-oiled machine. Let me share something that happened to my neighbor, Betty, who's 68 and sharper than her grandkids who spend all day on their phones. She used to think nutrition for seniors was just about taking Centrum vitamins and eating low-fat everything from the grocery store. Then she discovered Dr. Spence's research and realized she'd been missing the biggest piece of the puzzle. She started what she calls her stroke-proof breakfast: steel-cut oats with fresh blueberries from the farmer's market, chopped walnuts, and a drizzle of local honey. Within 3 months, her doctor at the Cleveland Clinic was amazed at her blood pressure readings. But here's the kicker: she wasn't just preventing strokes. She was literally reversing years of arterial damage. The science behind this is mind-blowing. Antioxidants in berries repair cellular damage, omega-3s in nuts reduce inflammation, and fiber from oats helps maintain healthy blood sugar levels. Now, I want you to imagine your arteries as the interstate highway system. When you eat processed foods like those frozen dinners from the supermarket, it's like throwing construction debris on a 95 during rush hour. Traffic slows down, accidents happen, and eventually you get a major pileup. That's your stroke. But when you follow evidence-based nutrition for elderly health, you're sending out the best road crew imaginable. Dr. Spence's research shows that people who eat 5 servings of fruits and vegetables daily reduce their stroke risk by 30%. Add some salmon from Costco twice a week, and you're looking at another 20% reduction. It's not rocket science, it's just that most people don't know these simple facts. The beauty is that being a healthy senior doesn't require expensive supplements from those TV commercials. It requires understanding how food works as medicine. But here's what really gets me excited about this research: it's never too late to start. Whether you're 60, 70, or 80, your body has this incredible ability to heal itself when you give it the right fuel. Dr. Spence documented cases of people in their 80s who reversed arterial plaque buildup simply by changing their diet. Think about that for a moment, reversing decades of damage with something as simple as swapping Wonder Bread for whole grain or choosing wild-caught salmon over those Oscar Mayer lunch meats. The key to maintaining autonomy as a senior isn't just about staying physically active like those morning walks around the neighborhood. It's about feeding your brain the nutrients it needs to keep you sharp, independent, and stroke-free. And speaking of the right nutrients, there's something most people don't realize about how different dietary approaches can transform your health profile completely. Now here's where things get absolutely mind-blowing, and I'm talking about research that's so powerful, it should be front-page news on every health magazine in America. The Mediterranean diet isn't just some trendy eating plan that celebrities talk about on Instagram. It's a scientifically proven stroke prevention powerhouse that's been protecting people for thousands of years. Studies from Harvard Medical School show that women who follow this eating pattern reduce their stroke risk by a staggering 40%. But here's the kicker. It's not about eating expensive imported foods or shopping at Whole Foods every day. It's about understanding how our grandmother's generation ate before processed foods took over American kitchens. Think about it. When was the last time you saw someone having a stroke in those old movies from the 1940s? They were eating real food, not the packaged stuff that fills our grocery store aisles today. Let me paint you a picture of what this looks like in real life, because aging with health doesn't have to be complicated. My friend Barbara, who's 72 and lives in Phoenix, transformed her entire health profile by making simple swaps that any American woman can do. Instead of her usual breakfast of cereal and skim milk, she started having Greek yogurt with fresh berries and a handful of almonds. For lunch, she ditched the lean cuisine frozen meals and began making simple salads with olive oil, tomatoes, and whatever vegetables were on sale at Kroger. Dinner became grilled chicken or fish with roasted vegetables drizzled in olive oil. Within 6 months, her doctor said her blood work looked like someone 20 years younger. The secret? She wasn't following some restrictive diet. She was just eating the way humans are supposed to eat. But here's what's truly revolutionary about maintaining health in your golden years through Mediterranean eating. It's not about perfection. It's about balance. You don't have to give up your Saturday morning pancakes with the grandkids or your book club wine nights. The research shows that it's the overall pattern that matters, not individual meals. Think of it like a bank account. You can make occasional withdrawals, that piece of birthday cake, as long as you're making regular deposits, those daily servings of vegetables and healthy fats. My neighbor Dorothy, who's 68, calls it her 80-20 rule. She eats Mediterranean style 80% of the time and enjoys whatever she wants the other 20%. Her blood pressure has been stable for 3 years, and she's never felt more energetic. The beauty of nutrition for seniors is that it doesn't require sacrifice. It requires smart choices. Now let's talk about what this actually looks like on your dinner table, because being a healthy senior isn't about following complicated recipes from fancy cookbooks. Start with olive oil, real, extra virgin olive oil, not that light stuff that's been processed to death. Use it on your salads, drizzle it on your vegetables, cook your eggs in it. Add fish twice a week, even canned salmon from the grocery store works perfectly. Fill half your plate with colorful vegetables. Frozen ones are just as nutritious as fresh and often more affordable. Include a handful of nuts daily, almonds, walnuts, or whatever's on sale. The immune system in old age thrives on these simple, whole foods because they provide the nutrients your body has been craving for decades. It's like finally giving your car premium gasoline after years of using the cheap stuff. Here's what gets me most excited about this approach. It's sustainable for life, not just for a few months. Unlike those restrictive diets that leave you feeling deprived and cranky, Mediterranean eating actually makes you feel satisfied and energized. The research from the University of Barcelona followed thousands of people for over a decade and found that those who stuck with this eating pattern had not only fewer strokes but also better cognitive function and less depression. Think about that. How to maintain autonomy as a senior becomes so much easier when your brain is sharp and your mood is stable. But there's something else that's equally important that most people completely overlook, and it has to do with a tiny vitamin that could be the difference between staying independent or needing help with daily activities. Here's a shocking truth that'll make you question everything your doctor has told you about your blood work. Up to 30% of people over 60 have a vitamin B12 deficiency that's flying completely under the radar. We're talking about a hidden epidemic that's happening right in your own neighborhood, affecting women just like you who think they're doing everything right. The scary part? Standard blood tests often miss this deficiency, leaving you walking around with what I call invisible malnutrition that's slowly damaging your brain and increasing your stroke risk every single day. My friend Linda, who's 65 and lives in Sacramento, went to 3 different doctors complaining of fatigue and memory issues, and all of them told her it was just part of getting older. It wasn't until she demanded a more comprehensive B12 test that she discovered her levels were dangerously low, despite eating what she thought was a healthy diet and taking her daily multivitamin from Walgreens. The reason this is so critical for aging with health is that B12 deficiency doesn't just make you tired. It literally rewires your brain in the worst possible way. When your B12 levels are low, your body can't properly process homocysteine, which is like toxic sludge building up in your blood vessels. Think of it like having a clogged drain in your kitchen sink. At first, the water drains slowly, but eventually, everything backs up and you have a major mess on your hands. That mess in your body is a stroke waiting to happen. The research shows that people with B12 deficiency have homocysteine levels that are 40% higher than normal, which translates to a dramatically increased stroke risk. But here's what's really frustrating. Most doctors only test for the basic B12 level, not the more accurate markers like methylmalonic acid or holotranscobalamin that actually tell you if your body is using B12 properly. Now, you might be thinking, but I eat meat and take vitamins, so I must be fine. And that's exactly what my neighbor Carol thought too. She's 71, eats a balanced diet, and has been taking the same multivitamin for 20 years. But here's the kicker. As we age, our stomachs produce less acid, which means we can't absorb B12 from food as efficiently as we used to. It's like trying to unlock a door with a key that's been worn smooth. The mechanism just doesn't work anymore. Additionally, certain medications that are common among seniors like Prilosec, Nexium, or metformin for diabetes can interfere with B12 absorption. Carol discovered this when she started experiencing what she called senior moment more frequently, and her doctor finally ran the right tests. Her B12 levels weren't just low, they were practically non-existent, despite her thinking she was maintaining health in her golden years through proper nutrition. The connection between B12 deficiency and stroke risk is something that should be shouted from every rooftop in America, but instead, it's buried in medical journals that most doctors don't even read. When your B12 levels are inadequate, your body can't make healthy red blood cells, which means less oxygen is getting to your brain. Simultaneously, homocysteine levels skyrocket, creating inflammation and damage to your blood vessel walls. It's like having a perfect storm brewing in your cardiovascular system. The Nutrition for Seniors research shows that correcting B12 deficiency can reduce homocysteine levels by up to 25% in just a few months. But here's what's truly remarkable. When Carol started proper B12 supplementation under her doctor's guidance, not only did her energy return, but her memory improved so much that she started beating her grandchildren at card games again. The immune system in old age depends heavily on adequate B12 levels, because this vitamin is essential for producing the white blood cells that fight off infections and diseases. Here's what every woman over 60 needs to understand about B12 testing. The standard test that most doctors order, serum B12, is about as reliable as checking your car's oil level by looking at the exterior paint job. You need to ask specifically for a methylmalonic acid test or a holotranscobalamin test, which actually measure whether your body is using B12 effectively. Don't let your doctor brush you off with your levels are normal. Normal on outdated reference ranges isn't the same as optimal for how to be a healthy senior. The research shows that B12 levels that are considered normal by most labs, 200 to 900 pg/ml, are actually too low for optimal brain function and stroke prevention. You want your levels to be in the upper third of that range, ideally above 500 pg/ml, to truly support how to maintain autonomy as a senior. But even then, the blood level doesn't tell the whole story, because there's another crucial factor that most people, including many doctors, completely overlook about B12 supplementation that could make the difference between effective treatment and wasting your money on pills that don't work. Here's what most doctors won't tell you about B12 supplements, and this could be the difference between throwing money down the drain and actually protecting your brain from stroke. The shocking truth is that even when your B12 blood levels look normal on paper, you might still be functionally deficient, especially if you're over 60. My friend Margaret from Denver discovered this the hard way, when her doctor kept insisting her B12 levels were fine at 350 pg/ml. Yet she was experiencing memory fog and fatigue that made her feel like she was aging faster than her 73-year-old neighbor who still volunteers at the local library 3 days a week. The problem isn't just about having B12 in your blood, it's about whether your cells can actually use it effectively. Think of it like having a full gas tank in your car, but the fuel line is clogged, the gas is there, but your engine isn't getting what it needs to run properly. The research that's revolutionizing how we think about aging with health shows that standard B12 supplementation often fails because most people are taking the wrong form in the wrong dose. Those typical multivitamins from CVS or Walgreens contain cyanocobalamin, which is like giving your body a puzzle piece that doesn't quite fit. Your liver has to convert it to the active forms, methylcobalamin and adenosylcobalamin. But here's the kicker: as we age, our liver's ability to make this conversion decreases dramatically. It's like trying to use an old key in a new lock. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Dr. Sally Pakalak, author of Could It Be B12, has documented thousands of cases where people thought they were maintaining health in their golden years by taking B12 supplements, only to discover they were taking a form their body couldn't utilize effectively. Here's where it gets really interesting. The dosage recommendations you see on most supplement bottles are based on preventing deficiency diseases like pernicious anemia, not on optimizing brain health and stroke prevention. The RDA for B12 is 2.4 micrograms daily, but emerging research suggests that women over 60 may need 100 to 1,000 micrograms daily to maintain optimal cognitive function and support their immune system in old age. My neighbor Janet, who's 68 and lives in Portland, was taking 25 micrograms daily thinking she was covered, but her methylmalonic acid levels were still elevated, indicating cellular deficiency. When she switched to 1,000 micrograms of sublingual methylcobalamin daily, her energy levels improved so much that she started taking ballroom dancing classes at the community center. The key is understanding that nutrition for seniors isn't about minimum requirements. It's about optimal function. The most frustrating part about B12 supplementation is that many doctors still rely on outdated testing methods that miss functional deficiencies. Even when your serum B12 looks normal, you could be developing what researchers call subclinical deficiency that's slowly damaging your cardiovascular system and brain. The gold standard test is methylmalonic acid, MMA, which measures the metabolic byproducts that accumulate when your cells can't use B12 properly. Think of it like checking for carbon monoxide in your house. You can't see it or smell it, but it's there, and it's dangerous. Rose, a 72-year-old from Phoenix, had normal B12 levels for years while experiencing increasing fatigue and balance issues. It wasn't until her integrative medicine doctor ordered an MMA test that they discovered her cells were starving for usable B12, despite taking supplements religiously. How to be a healthy senior requires understanding that optimal lab values aren't the same as normal lab values. But here's what's truly revolutionary about proper B12 supplementation. It's not just about preventing deficiency. It's about optimizing your body's ability to repair itself and maintain independence. When your B12 levels are optimal, your body can properly methylate homocysteine, keeping your blood vessels healthy and reducing inflammation throughout your entire cardiovascular system. The research shows that people who maintain optimal B12 levels have better cognitive function, more stable moods, and stronger immune responses well into their 80s and 90s. However, even with proper B12 supplementation, there's another dietary factor that most people completely ignore, something that's sitting in every American kitchen right now, silently sabotaging all the good work you're doing with nutrition and supplements. This common ingredient is so pervasive that the average American consumes nearly 10 times the recommended amount daily, and it's turning your blood vessels into a ticking time bomb. Salt. It's sitting right there in your kitchen cabinet, looking as innocent as your grandmother's china, but here's the brutal truth that'll shock you. This white crystalline assassin is probably doing more damage to your brain than you could ever imagine. The average American woman consumes about 3,400 milligrams of sodium daily, which is nearly 150% more than the recommended limit. And if you're over 60, that excess salt is literally setting up the perfect storm for a massive stroke. My friend Helen from Tampa thought she was being careful because she stopped adding salt to her food at the table, but she had no idea that her daily turkey sandwich from the deli contained 1,500 milligrams of sodium. That's almost an entire day's worth in one meal. The scariest part: most of this hidden sodium is lurking in foods that don't even taste particularly salty, silently working against everything you're doing to maintain health in your golden years. Here's what happens in your body when you consistently consume too much salt. And this is where the science gets absolutely terrifying for women our age. Excess sodium acts like a sponge in your bloodstream, pulling water into your blood vessels and dramatically increasing your blood pressure. Think of it like trying to force too much water through a garden hose. Eventually, something's going to burst. But here's the part that most people don't realize. This damage is happening 24/7, even when you're sleeping peacefully in your bed. The research from the American Heart Association shows that women over 60 who consume high-sodium diets have a 40% higher risk of stroke compared to those who keep their sodium intake under control. Your poor heart is working overtime, pumping against this increased pressure, while your arteries are slowly developing microscopic tears that become perfect spots for blood clots to form. It's like having a team of vandals working on your cardiovascular system around the clock. The most insidious part about salt's role in stroke risk is that it doesn't just affect your blood pressure, it also interferes with your body's ability to maintain healthy blood vessel function. When you're thinking about nutrition for seniors, you need to understand that excess sodium actually makes your arteries less flexible, kind of like how a rubber band becomes brittle and snaps when it gets old. Dr. Frank Sachs from Harvard Medical School has documented how high sodium intake accelerates arterial aging, making your blood vessels behave like they belong to someone 10 years older. My neighbor Dorothy, who's 74 and lives in San Antonio, discovered this when she started tracking her sodium intake using a smartphone app. She was horrified to realize that her healthy breakfast of whole grain cereal with milk was packing 400 milligrams of sodium before she even finished her first cup of coffee. When she made simple swaps, like choosing unsalted nuts instead of salted ones, fresh vegetables instead of canned, and cooking at home instead of eating out, her blood pressure dropped 20 points in just 6 weeks. But here's where it gets really practical, and this is information that could literally save your life. The biggest sources of hidden sodium in the American diet aren't what you'd expect. Sure, we know that potato chips and pretzels are salty, but would you believe that a single slice of bread can contain 150 milligrams of sodium? That means your morning toast and sandwich for lunch could be delivering 600 milligrams before you add any other ingredients. Processed meats like ham, turkey, and chicken from the deli counter are absolute sodium bombs. A 3-ounce serving can contain up to 1,200 milligrams. Even seemingly innocent foods like cottage cheese, canned soup, and salad dressings are loaded with sodium. The key to being a healthy senior is becoming a sodium detective, reading every label and understanding that anything processed, packaged, or prepared by someone else is probably contributing to your stroke risk. The good news is that your taste buds adapt quickly. Within just 2 weeks of reducing sodium, foods will start tasting better, and you'll actually begin to notice how oversalted restaurant food really is. Here's the game changer that most women over 60 don't realize. Reducing sodium isn't just about preventing strokes. It's about improving your overall quality of life in ways you never expected. When you lower your sodium intake, you'll notice that your ankles aren't as swollen at the end of the day, your wedding ring doesn't feel tight anymore, and you're not getting up 3 times a night to use the bathroom. The research shows that women who maintain low-sodium diets have better kidney function, stronger bones, and even improved cognitive performance as they age. Think about how to maintain autonomy as a senior. It's so much easier when you're not dealing with the fatigue, brain fog, and physical discomfort that comes with excessive sodium consumption. The immune system in old age also functions better when it's not constantly fighting the inflammatory effects of high sodium intake. When my friend Barbara from Phoenix cut her sodium intake in half, she not only saw her blood pressure normalize, but she also had more energy to play with her grandchildren and even started taking those watercolor painting classes she'd been putting off for years. The transformation wasn't just physical, it was like she got her life back. So here's my challenge to you, and I want you to really think about this for a moment. You've just learned information that could literally add years to your life and keep you independent well into your 80s and 90s. You now know that strokes aren't inevitable, that your kitchen can be your most powerful medicine cabinet, and that simple changes to your daily nutrition can slash your risk by up to 80%. But here's the question that's going to determine your future. What are you going to do with this knowledge? Are you going to be like most people who watch videos like this, nod their heads, feel motivated for about 5 minutes, and then go back to their same old habits? Or are you going to be one of the smart women who takes action today, who walks into their kitchen tonight and starts reading those sodium labels, who calls her doctor tomorrow to request the right B12 test, who begins making the simple swaps that could save their life? I want you to ask yourself this. How would your life change if you never had to worry about having a stroke? How would it feel to know that you're doing everything possible to stay sharp, independent, and healthy for your children and grandchildren? What would it mean to you to be that 85-year-old woman who's still driving herself to the grocery store, still cooking her own meals, still living life on her own terms? The women who are aging successfully aren't the lucky ones. They're the informed ones. They're the ones who took action when they learned the truth about stroke prevention. They're the ones who decided that their health was worth more than their old habits. And now it's your turn to make that choice. Don't let this be just another video you watched. Make this the day you decided to take control of your health destiny. Start with one simple change today. Check the sodium content on 3 foods in your pantry right now. Write down what you find. Then tomorrow, make one swap. Replace one high-sodium food with a fresh alternative. Small actions, but they add up to life-changing results. If this information opened your eyes to the truth about stroke prevention, I need you to subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell. Because everything the medical establishment isn't telling you about healthy aging, I want to share right here. Your future self will thank you for staying informed, and your family will thank you for taking action today.